Okay guys, got the grill sanded down. I used that 120, cleaned it off really good. Got a good start on it, but I'm gonna go back over it with the 240 just to get all of that out of it. I mean, it would be good for the paint primer to stick to it. I just want to make sure I have to prime it 3-4 times to make that go away. With this primer, I haven't used it that much. So you see, so I'm gonna go ahead and put sand on it with 240. I come over here. Want to knock the high spots. Knock it down a little bit more. Sorry, it's hard to do it with one hand. And I got 400 to 2, but I think this 240 is going to be good enough. I'm at least hoping, and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to sand down on that primer as long as I let it dry enough. I don't want to really wet the. I was going to wet sand it, but I want to get to this and get it painted. I don't want to have to wait and make sure it's completely dry. Let that happen. It's already dry. It's been in the sun for a long time. And so I'm going to go ahead and get this finished off. Just 220. And then I'm going to wipe it down real good. And I'm going to cover the grill, even though I'm putting grills over it. I may want it one day. I don't know. I'll see. But I doubt it. So let me go ahead and finish sanding this. Oh, by the way, I did do the bow tie. Took the bow tie off and sanded that down, and that's the second coat. I am going to wet sand that down once it's dry really well, and then put a couple more coats on it. I think it'll look good. And this is going to be painted glossy black. That's actually not glossy. It's a semi-gloss. I thought it was a flat, but anyway, I'm going to probably finish it off with a flat paint. That's what I wanted. So I'm going to get to this, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so it's nice and sanded down again. I cleaned it off really well, but you should always use paint thinner or acetone's good for a final cleaning, or you could use denatured alcohol. That I would prefer this, or the acetone before the paint thinner, because it dries a lot faster. Just does denatured alcohol real quick, dissipates. So that's all you're gonna do is just rub it on there. You can see there's still stuff on it, so you make sure you get everything off. To denatured alcohol or a cleaner of some sort before you paint it. And I'm gonna do this before I tape it up. I'm going to tape it up, and before I put the primer on it, it's going to help the primer. So let me get this done. I'll be back. Okay, so I got most of it taped up. You know, I got a bullet grill going to fit in there, so I don't have to be too neat about it, but I'm still going to be somewhat neat about it. So I left one more piece off. All I did was obviously some tape on it, so piece off of here. Sorry about that. So what I did was pretty simple. Lay the tape down. Half of it being off of the grill, half of it being off of the insert. Make sure it doesn't stick to the metal. And I just got my knife, my trusty little knife. And just gonna tuck it in. Make sure it's not stuck. If you have it too much, you have too much of it, it's going to be kind of hard to, there it goes, bend it around like that. So tuck it underneath, tuck it down. That's good enough. I'm going to commence the priming now, so it's my next move. I got everything cleaned off. Like I said, I wiped it down. I'll show you so you don't think there's anything on there. That's what comes off even after you just cleaned it off. You got to use a solvent for that, a chemical. Let's see, let me get my primer. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I got it all taped up. It's ready to be primed. I brought it out here on its own. So keep it out here while it's drying. The sun's good. So what you want to do is stay about 6 to 8 inches away. And you really want to go the length of the grill. You know, you can feather it in. Put a light coat on, first coat. It's going to dry pretty quick. It's like a sweeping motion. Never want to really start off the blast of paint. You know, kind of want to start off of the object you're spraying and then finish off with a sweeping motion. It'll come to you once you do it a little bit and give it a nice little first coat. Check yourself all the way around. There's some more in there. There you go. Looks like this. All right. All right. So looks pretty good. It's pretty good. We'll let that go and then come back to that. Shade. Alright. So I got another nice little project to do with you to keep this project rolling. And that's going to be with those lights. Well, you know, as luck would have it, you got to do a little bit of work on them to get the wiring done right. So I'm going to show you how that's going to get done. You're going to need a multimeter and follow the directions. If you haven't done it before, it's a good idea. So what we have here is, this is the harness off the truck, and these hook up to the parking lights. No, I'm sorry, these hook up to the main lights, the high beam and the low beam. So here's one connection here, and the other one's right here. Okay, so what you have to do to get the LEDs to work, they come bare wires. So what you got to figure out is which one is your driving light wire that has a constant current to it while you're driving. You don't want to hook up to the blinking one. You want to have something that's going to... So the way to figure that out is put this on the truck, take your probe from your multimeter, stab it into your parking lamp, stab it into your ground wire with the black, and then poke one wire, stab into the other wire with the red, and if the meter starts jumping, the numbers start jumping, then it's with the blinker on and the key on. The blinker on, if it starts jumping, then it's the blinker wire. And leave the ground in, pull it out, stick it in the other wire, and see if it stays on a steady current. If it does, then that's your driving light. So, but I'm going to show you all of that in a second. And as you can see here, I found the wire. I just got to solder them together. So I just put a splice, and this is the black is all ground, and so I got that on that one, and the red and the white are your neutrals for your hot side for the lights. So in the 09 Silverado, that orange wire right there is your running light. So that's a constant flow of power right there. So, but I still need there's a couple of ways you can put these on. One is you can get some quick connects and put them on there, or you can solder them on. And I plan on soldering them and then put some electrical tape around them. And so that's what I'm going to get set up for now. Okay, so I'm back, and I started soldering these connections together. So it's got a nice little solder on it. I'm just going to let it dry, but I wanted to show you. I don't know if you've ever soldered a lot. I guess in any trade, plumbing or whatever, when you're soldering something, you know, you might be able to get it to stick okay, but you're never going to get it to stick as much or as well as it can be unless you use a flux before you solder. So the flux will actually pull the solder where the flux is as it heats up, instead of the solder just rolling off of the wires, unless it can grab to it, or flow into it and get a hold of it. That's, it's all right, but it's not as good as you can get it if you use flux. So I'm going to show you. Got some flux, and by the way, I couldn't find a plumber's brush for flux, so I made one pretty simple. I found an old brush and rolled some electrical tape on one end of it, and then just clipped off the bristles and got a little brush. So if you can't find a brush or you can't find some tools, good thing you can kind of be creative and make something that'll work for you. So see, I'm putting flux on these. Make sure I got it to where it's going to pull. You want it to pull the solder into. That's good. Okay. Another good investment if you do a lot of soldering, or even it's not that expensive, to get you a good solder gun that trigger kind works really well. You won't burn yourself if it's been down. And just get it hot and get your solder on the front of the gun. And there it goes. It's important. You kind of want to get the wire hot too. And when it's just kind of put it on the wire so the wires can get hot, and that'll help pull it around as it needs it. Okay, so it's pretty good. And you see the black one, it's tight, should never come off. That looks pretty good. Dry for a second, and then I did check it last time I put it together. I brought it to the truck and plugged it in and turned the lights on. Everything worked, so I knew I had the right connection. And I'm still going to show you how to do that. Okay, so I sanded this with a 400 wet dry, but I didn't wet it. I don't want it to get it wet because I'm still working with it. So I came back and cleaned it with my denatured alcohol instead of, I did sand it to where, I mean, look how smooth that is. You can feel it with your hands if there's any places you missed or any rough spots. Feel it with your hands. So I'm really good here. I'm going to put my second coat on, and third coat. I am going to put 3 coats, and then maybe 4 before I sand it again. And that's going to be my finished primed coat, and this is going to be, should be really nice, slick as glass by the time it's finished with. So put another coat of primer on that. The wind's picking up a little bit. Thank you. I can see you start at one side. Try to catch a good stroke. Keep your eyes on the prize. Kind of flow with what you're seeing. Catch all the insides. Get the edges. Make sure you get the edges. Don't get too close. There you go. Looking really good. Let's see it finished. Okay, let's just get dry. And I'll put another coat on top of that, another one on top of that. So that's kind of a fill. It's a filler. Primers are fillers that you can fill in scratches and whatnot. And then you can. I will wet sand this. The last one will be wet sand. Make sure I'm really smooth on top. And then I'm gonna clean it off, let it dry real good before I paint it. Okay, so I'm gonna get a setup with the next light. Show you how to get them lights hooked up. Okay, I wanted to show you that, and I soldered these wires up and got them nice and taped off really tight. Try to keep the moisture out of there. Do what you want. But I did do something extra for these lights, by the way. That looks good. Hope you can see it. But anyway, I went and bought me some nice LEDs because looking at these lights earlier, they're flaking. If you can see, but the yellow is actually coming off the bulb. So to avoid having pieces of stuff in there when it starts falling apart or start losing its coating, I decided to put these in. And you see amber, so it's gonna work. And these will be really nice. It's gonna last a long time. Fit in there like that. This one, tab broke off now. And somebody must have arrived at the house. Dogs are crying for food, but Stick that one in there. Make sure I'm sealed really well. Sitting down there flat. The washer's nice and flat. So that's it. Now I can install it. Okay, so now I wanted to show you this is that little bolt that we were talking about at the back of the light. That fork fits around that bolt, and that's what holds the light in on the back side. And the light. So there's your part right there. Needs to go against that. Let's see. Well, it's the wrong side. Bring it over here. Same setup. So here's your connection. Gotta still keep it off the glass. You don't want plastic. You don't want to scratch the plastic up. And plug this back in. It's tight. And this goes into a piece. Just get this thing lined up. See back there, I can tell that. And that's it. Now if you remember, you had a washer, a spacer. It came off of that before. And there it is. So you can put your 10 millimeters back in. And she's good to go. It's really nice, I like that a lot.